Welcome to April's Garage, and we all know Tyler Hoover has been scammed hundreds and hundreds of times, but...
Makes good YouTube.
Well, it does make good YouTube. But this time we have found a victim of Hoovie scamming
We're starting
someone.
it off that way, huh?
Oh, yeah. I don't even know the story. I just know that you got scammed. This is Normal Guy Supercar on YouTube.
Hello.
Dan.
He used that in the thumbnail and the title of his video.
Oh,
And-
people lost their minds.
Yeah.
I dared to attack Tyler Hoover.
Oh, well, I mean, it was somewhat deserved. So, yes.
What happened?
Well, I needed to sell some cars. May have been needing to pay taxes
Nothing
or something
unusual,
else. I'm not
right?
sure.
Right.
So Dan showed up. What were you buying? There was the 355.
We bought the 355, the
Spider.
456.
Mm-hmm.
So you show up to Kansas to buy some of his cars, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was going to drive down with you with
Yep.
my 599 because part of that deal was to do the manual conversion on it. So that's
Correct.
why we were all road tripping together.
Yes.
It was going to be fun. It was going to be
Where
a
were
great
you
video.
road tripping? Set this up a little bit for me. I don't know the story.
From Kansas
Right.
to Austin or Round Rock where
Yep.
Dan lives. So about a little over 8 hours, right?
Yep.
And yeah, which car did you start in? I think we all kind of rotated a little bit,
I did the
right?
456 the whole time,
Oh, okay.
and then it overheated.
So-
in Dallas,
Well,
in
there's-
traffic.
There's a little more to that
Yeah.
than I thought. So the car had already had a lot of work done to it,
Right.
a ton of work. The engine had been rebuilt, even though it only had 10,000 miles. It sat forever in Japan, and it was noisy when the dealer got it. I bought it from the dealer in Dubai. They rebuilt the motor.
Right.
But there's a lot of 456 parts you can't get anymore, and one of them had to do with the fuel pressure, the fuel delivery. I can't remember what it was.
Now, how long did you have this car
A long
for?
time. It was a car trek car. I put thousands of miles on it. I
Right.
had it for, I think, 4 years.
Okay.
So I think it was the fuel pressure regulators or whatever it was. Ferrari
just
doesn't
going
sell
like
them
this a
anymore.
lot,
There's
haven't
because there's
Yeah,
two
yeah.
of them on each bank. No, they're not nipples, but they're basically on each bank of fuel injectors. There's something that controlled the pressure. Ferrari didn't sell
Right,
anymore,
right.
so we adapted ones that were kind of universal ones manually to make it work. And ever since that, on a cold start, it's like it bled pressure in the fuel, so it was always like a 5-second crank when it was cold starting, and then stumbled a little bit. And I thought that's what that was. It turns out it was doing that because it was guzzling coolant.
Yeah, kind of had a head gasket leak.
So you weren't sure about this. You didn't know. You knew there was
well-
an issue, and you fixed it with some kind of
I think we even
faulty
asked you,
part.
but like, we sure that's not like a.
It's like, no, it's not.
not a
No,
compression issue
Wait
or
a
something?
minute. So you did ask him about this beforehand?
Sure.
Okay.
But to be fair, I don't
Yeah.
think he knew. We kind of had a guess that there was something a little bit more catastrophic wrong with the car than
Right.
we thought, but we didn't think it was.
Could you hear it? Could you feel
Oh yeah,
it?
you could. Well, so the car felt down on power, and it definitely started awful. Like when it started up, it was like, ooh,
cold start.
cold start
Yeah,
was really
it was a
bad.
little
but then,
worse than I
but
thought
that's,
it was.
That's head gaskets. Sometimes it heats up and everything squishes together harder, and it seals up and starts running great. But
Right.
Yes.
but there was in hindsight, stuff that we missed that we should have seen. Like there was a
You
rusty.
don't need to backtrack. You can blame this all on Tyler.
Well,
It's okay.
but that's the funny thing is as someone who buys and sells lots of cars, it's on us.
Right.
Everyone's lying. Everyone hides stuff. No offense.
Well, so in my head, that's what I thought, because obviously, I mean, it was there, but it got progressively worse, and it sat for a couple of months before you came and got
Yeah.
it. So I mean, things had progressed a little bit.
And to be fair, other things went wrong on the drive home that made it worse.
Like
Yeah.
what?
So
What
the
do you mean?
cooling fan died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it died, and so it started having a hard time keeping the temperatures down.
Right.
And of course, we're stuck in summer in Dallas in rush hour
Yeah, we knew the
traffic.
fans weren't kicking on, so we already knew that was a problem. And then,
And it just
then
was
it left
unhappy.
you stranded in traffic. I think the
Well,
day
it
or
made
two
it
later, right?
all the way home. Yeah. Well, then we drove it on another, actually, like a Ferrari sanctioned drive, and we thought we'd take it out with all the Ferraris and do that whole thing. And we got to the destination, and it was puking out coolant, and we're like, uh-oh.
Like spewing coolant everywhere.
not like movie style
Okay.
but it
Explosion.
was definitely leaking coolant,
It's a little
and
sputter.
Yeah.
we were like, this ain't driving home. Like we got to get a tow truck or something. And actually we did end up. Josh limped it home
Right.
by starting out driving as far as he could, shut it off, glide as far as he could, and then we had 20 bottles of water, and he
Right.
would just pop the radiator and dump in more water and let it puke itself out, and then dump in more water. And it took him like 3 hours to get home for like a 45-minute drive.
So
but-
you call Tyler Hoover, you tell him, hey man, this is messed up.
Well,
What was the course
to my
of
credit,
action?
the yellow 355, which
was awesome.
great. I mean, and that was the one where I got it and did the belt service, and
Yep.
the car wizard
Yep.
did all the work. The 456, it was all done at a previous shop in Dubai, and I
and-
imported it from Dubai. And that was the problem, was the tech in Dubai.
Right.
Oh no, I mean, we popped the hood and we started checking stuff. There was like loose bolts and stuff. We're like who the hell put this thing together after
Yeah.
it was, someone didn't know what they were doing. And so again, just to be clear to everyone, you were super generous because I told you about the head gasket being blown, and the first thing you said is, well, I want to buy it back.
Yeah,
Wow.
of course
And
I
I
was
was
going to
like-
buy it back. Because
Yeah.
he's doing this for a living, like trying to make money off the car, and then I just dropped a ginormous turd on him. Like, I mean, I just
We would
shit
have
all over
lost
him.
our ass. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so no, that is not something that I wanted to do. So, but for a couple of days, you probably felt pretty scammed until you.
I didn't feel scammed. It just was like, crap. We bought a smoldering pile of crap, and now
Right.
we're
Yeah.
stuck with it. You know.
Where is this car now?
So I brought it back
Mm-hmm.
and went through, and finally, okay, car wizard, go through, fix this thing, tore it down. We discovered, and it could be because it overheated, that the head bolts were loose, but probably not. It's probably because somebody didn't torque down, because all the head bolts were different torques,
Right.
different. Like, so nobody went and did any torque specs on
Right.
that. Like the wiring, they cobbled so many wires together as far as the cooling fans and all that stuff. It's not something that, like, unless you're tearing the car down to really see it, you wouldn't notice all of this stuff. But then as you take things apart, it's like, that was put together wrong. That was put together wrong. So it was a 6-month process of going through, not rebuilding the bottom end again. Because actually, the only thing that was good was like we checked the torque on the
probably from the
bottom end and all
factory.
that stuff to make
Right.
sure everything was okay. But had to do the head gaskets, skim the heads, and since the heads had been skimmed once before, the machine shop was like, this is close. Like, we'll
Yeah.
try, but these might be warped to where we run out of room to where we can't skim the heads. So then, if they couldn't, then I would have to find a different engine or different heads, and that would have been really catastrophic. But thankfully, they were able to get it level, get the heads back on, fix all the cob job Dubai crap, and fixed it, and then sold it again. So
Right.
I don't have it anymore. But,
Right.
But it had a bad reputation after that. So I did have to sell it for probably way less than what it was actually worth to get
Sure.
somebody to to take it on.
No,
So
that makes sense. Well, I mean, like your bread and butter is Ferrari,
Yes.
is buying, selling, fixing. When you're going to buy one, are there special areas and places that you look on these specific
yeah.
Ferraris?
you're going to give
Oh,
up
yeah.
your honey holes for everybody
Yeah.
to take on.
I mean, a lot of it's not like a trade secret or anything, but it's very car specific, right? So like certain cars, you really got to look for certain things, and other cars.
Well, like take me through some of them.
So I mean, like 430s and 360s are our favorite cars. We buy and sell more of those than anything, and like 430s. I mean, the first thing you got to do is like you always check for like, are the headers blown, because it's a pretty expensive fix if they are, and it's like you got to start it up while it's cold and listen for a ticking sound, because when they heat up, a lot of times they'll expand and it'll seal the cracks, and then it won't tick anymore.
It was the same problem with the 355 2
Yep,
generations older.
355s can do
so
that.
They can't figure things out. They like making the same
Well,
mistakes.
they finally got
over
them
and over.
good in the 458.
Oh, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
The header, you never hear of 458 headers failing. So
Yeah.
like that's 458s don't need to check the headers. They don't fail. Not a
Right.
problem.
Or like Tyler's 599.
599. We could go through. There's a laundry list. I mean, every Ferrari.
I'm,
Bad-
do,
are
I'm
we
doing the
gonna have
laundry list right
problems?
now.
Well, I mean,
so-
every Ferrari is going to have every car has problems.
Sure.
Everyone likes to pick on Ferraris or exotics and like, oh, they're pieces of crap or whatever. And it's
Right.
like, are they really like?
Well, are there certain ones that you stay away from?
There's certain ones you use more caution.
Okay.
So 355s, you got to use a lot of caution. It's
Yeah.
not that they're bad cars. It's you just got to know what you're getting into. Like I think that's the biggest thing is, if you go into it with your eyes open, it can be a great experience. What sucks is when someone buys one of these cars, they've been dreaming about it since they were a kid, and then they buy the Ferrari, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's a $25,000 bill. You're like, oh my God,
Right.
what the hell is that? So. But if you buy a 355 knowing I'm going to be pulling the engine out every 5 years, it's going to cost anywhere from like $7,000 to $20,000. Then as long as you expect it and you plan for it and you deal with it, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And those can be like, because people love the crap on the 355s and it's unreliable. It's like, no, they're actually very reliable. It's the problem with a lot of those cars are they're older and they got so cheap. Like 355s, 348s, even now some of the 360s, they got so cheap that people were buying them and then either couldn't afford to maintain them properly or didn't want to maintain them properly.
And that's my first exotic.
And so they get
355
right.
that burned to the ground.
So you get deferred maintenance stacked up over years and years and multiple owners, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, to get this back to good, it's going to take a whole lot of money and it's going to suck.
Right.
The previous owner before the car burned down was Rob.
Oh.
Which he doesn't take care of his stuff at all. Rob, you're going to watch this and text me about He does not take care of his stuff. So,
well, having owned Ferraris, is there any one of them particularly that you wish you held onto where that value kind of shot up over the years?
I mean, I got to write up the value in a couple of them accidentally. Like, that's the thing that's so weird about the current market is everyone always is like so value conscious. Oh, I want to make sure that I buy this car and it retains value or it makes money. And it's like, that's not how cars were for, like, when I was growing up and we played with cars, it was, you're going to lose money on this car. You're going to, it's just, that's how it is. And, COVID made everyone look like a genius because anything you bought that was remotely rare suddenly went up in value. But I made a bunch of money on my 458 and I drove the hell out of it. I bought it with 16,000 miles. I sold it with 46,000 miles.
And how much money are we talking about? What did you buy it for?
I bought it for I think it was like, I want to say it was 150 or I can't even remember now. Maybe it was 140 something.
Yeah.
And I sold it for like 175, 180.
How many years later?
3.
Yeah.
3 years later.
That's a quick turnaround.
And I put 30,000 miles on it.
Right.
I mean, so I basically, in factor in maintenance and whatever, it actually still made a profit. And that was before I was doing the dealership stuff.
Sure.
My 599, we converted. I got super lucky on the timing on that one. That was totally accidental. I bought it at the absolute bottom of the market. I don't think I ever said how much I paid, but I don't even want to tell people.
I remember you griping about, I thought that the manual conversion, all that stuff would bring more, and it's like, Dan, you did fine.
Because so I missed the absolute peak of the manual conversion craze by like a month. Because there were some 430s that were converted that sold for over $300,000. I was like, it's a conversion,
right?
Like how? Okay.
Well, that's so COVID helped with values, but I feel like it didn't help with, and something that you were helping your customers with is as far as parts and repairs and things, where that has become a whole can of worms, nightmares,
it's
hunting
harder
down
now.
parts and finding a good tech that's not going to just annihilate you.
Yeah.
And then just, I want to talk about scams with me. I didn't, but all the scams that are out there right now, just for you as a dealer, because we were talking about shipping at dinner. Like, we shared a video where we both talked about bring a trailer, people coming after us as the second bidder and trying to get things. But now there's shippers where you put it out in Central Dispatch, and which is a commonly used site for shipping. And now the car can get picked up and end up in Mexico. You just don't know. There's so many things to watch out for now, and it's I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
A lot of it's we do things ourselves. I mean, because we don't trust anyone. Again, don't trust anyone. So I think it's the hardest thing about this industry is it's so hard to find anyone to trust. It really is frustrating because I feel like there's money to be made. Like, if you're a legitimate business in this space, it's like there's lots of money around, right? Sure. So you're going to be able to make money, and if you're honest about it, then you're going to be around for a while. But why do everyone has to like do all these weird things, hide stuff, lie about things, whatever? It's just
it's normal for used car
It
dealers,
is.
pretty much.
But it's like the stakes are so much higher,
right?
Because I was joking with someone the other day. I'm like, if I buy a Mustang GT, like a 2010 Mustang GT or something like that, and I buy a bad car, I might lose $5,000, maybe 10. Like, if I really screwed up. If I buy a bad Ferrari, I could lose like $50,000, $100,000. I mean, huge amounts of money. Our dealership lost over $40,000 on a bad Lamborghini, and we had to eat that. Oh yeah.
How does that happen?
So it was one of those where like we had a car we just wanted to get rid of because we had a McLaren 720S, and the McLaren market was dying.
Right.
And
what time frame?
This was 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago. And the McLarens were coming down like every day. You could see the value coming down a couple $1,000. So we're like, we just got to dump this, right? This guy hits us up. He lives in Houston. We're in Austin. He's like, hey, I've got this Lamborghini. It was a Huracan, and it was in the Viola 30 color, the SE30 Heritage color.
Because the McLaren was purple too, wasn't it? It was
The
like
McLaren
purple,
was
purple.
no, it was orange.
Oh, okay, another bright color.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he wants the McLaren because he wants to like do some crazy drag racing with it, whatever. Which already is kind of like a little bit of a red flag because we're like, okay, you're already into the drag racing world. What have you done to that Huracan, right? But he's like, oh no, it's stock and okay. So he is like, but I'm gonna make this deal happen. It has to happen immediately, blah blah. And he's rushing the deal, and which is a red flag. You know, we should have known better. So he trailers over the Huracan that night and pays cash. And he like really quickly loads up the McLaren and everything, and then doesn't really spend much time like
Checking it out.
Yeah. And we're like, you know, anyone who's that excited to dump their car and take whatever else they can. Anyway, so we end up with this Lamborghini, and it's our fault for not looking over much, and we took his word for a lot of the things.
Sure.
It ended up that he had previously had a supercharger on it, so it had all these weird tunes on it. They had literally honed out the catalytic converters, so the cats were still there, but the inside, the guts were gone. They had all these other weird issues, a bunch of paint stuff, and it just, all these weird things that were wrong with the car that it was just like, oh man, this thing's gonna be really hard to sell.
So what'd you do? You just kind of had to
So
unload it?
we listed it, and we kept dropping the price until we finally got an interest in it. And so this guy finally wants the car, gives us a deposit, but he's like, I got to get a PPI. And we're like, that's fine. So he sends it to Lamborghini. And like, I drove it personally. Drove it to Lamborghini. And this is after we'd had the car for like, I don't know, 3 months. So we'd put 500 miles on it because why not, you know? Everything was fine with the car. It shows up at Lamborghini. They call us like a few hours later and like, oh, it's in limp mode. And we're like, how is it in limp mode? Like, I just drove it to your shop. Like, well, it's in limp mode, and this is broken, and it needs this, and blah, blah. And so we have to tell the guy, of course, like, this, and this is wrong with it. And he's like, okay. And he actually pays for them to fix some of the stuff on it, because he's still interested in the car, but then decides after he did all of this, he wants out. He wants out of the deal. And so, you know, he wanted his deposit back and all this stuff, and he, like, I'm going to sue you if you don't get my money back, kind of thing.
Repairs?
No, he didn't. He walked away from the repairs. So that was cool. But so now we had already had the car on market. We already said it was sold, and everyone saw it publicly in our videos and everything get sold.
Right.
Now we got to relist it, and everyone's like, well, why'd he back out?
Yeah.
So the bad juju just carried on, and next thing you know, no one wants the damn
Well, and
thing.
that's the thing a lot too. Sometimes people get excited when YouTubers are selling their cars and Cars and Biz and places like that. Then all of a sudden, the person that gets it doesn't want it. You know, got caught
a time or two
in kind of the excitement of getting a car. The
Buyer's
second
remorse.
time you relist it, it never does as well.
No, if you have to list something twice, it's gonna die.
Right.
The second time, and that's why, like, that's my only. By the way, if you're running Cars and Bids or Bring a Trailer, the only thing I hate is that you guys show the price that it was bid to.
Right.
So as a dealer, that kills us.
Sure.
Because we had so I tried to sell my GT40, it's actually my personal car, and it did not meet reserve. GT40, yes.
Replica, yeah.
Oh, it's a replica.
See, she does replica.
Continuation.
Yeah.
Continuation.
So, so that's the thing. Like, it is if it's bid to $20,000, but the
Right.
car's worth
It anchors the
$200,000, then everybody's going to see that on the internet forever, and
That's the price of that car now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the thing about you being scammed on that Huracan, if you were on the other side of that, well, I guess if you were a dealer in Florida or New Jersey, you could get away with it for whatever reason.
Right.
But like, I feel like in Kansas and most states, like there's some recourse with buyers where if you were to complain about the dealer being scummy, the state comes down and they shake them upside down, make sure all the paperwork's right, make sure everything's correct, because they can find the heck out of dealers just from bad paperwork and that kind of stuff, to where most dealers do not want to get in a scammy situation in most states because of the ramifications of that. It's worth it to just give the money back, refund the car, and not deal with the headaches of a pissed off customer, and of course the reputation and everything else.
well, and for us, it's double that, right? Because we're so public with our YouTube channel that anyone publicly going after our reputation is like a huge risk for us.
So the worst one I had, where it just out of principle, because it was a super Karen before people would say that with Karen. It was we were starting like a promotion where it was like you get a free iPad when you purchase a car, which was a stupid thing. It didn't work, but we put signs out because we were still worried about people driving by. Like just traffic of people driving by to buy cars because it was a normal used car lot. And this kid came and we negotiated on the Mustang, and we just started the promotion, but we hadn't put the signs out yet. But we put the signs out, and I actually advertised the car, free iPad with purchase or whatever, after the kid was negotiated, and we made a deal. But then he didn't bring the money. I didn't know if most of the time when they leave the lot, they never come back.
Yeah.
So he came back, he bought the car, and then the mother showed up and said, "Well, where's the iPad?" So, well, we were talking before the iPad deal. I discounted the car $1,500, and so that's the discount. So I can't do an iPad. Well, it says out there you get a free iPad with purchase.
Uh-oh. Right.
I'm like, well, no, I can't.
Yeah,
like,
so
you
let me
guys
lose a bunch of
negotiate.
money.
It's like, well, if you don't, I'm going to report you to the Better Business Bureau, to the state, to the yada yada, all this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, but you can bring the car back.
Right.
And I'll refund the money. No, we're not going to do that. You're going to give me the iPad. I was like, no, we'll refund the car. And then I realized, like, this woman is not worth, as terrible as this woman is, and how much you don't want to let this super Karen win, the ramifications of it is just not worth it. So I gave the Karen, I wanted to use a different word starting with a B, the iPad. And just hated myself for it.
There's definitely times you just gotta swallow your pride and say, you know what, I'm gonna let them win, just so that I don't have to deal with the repercussions of them going out there and being jerks on the internet, because it's, reputation matters. And it's funny because in the supercar world it's doubly so, especially in the post CNC Motors collapse.
Yeah,
reputation is huge.
Which that was a car dealership in Upland, California that Doug DeMuro did a bunch of videos at, where he was selling things on consignment, and then got behind on bills, so he was collecting the payments on the cars and not paying the consigners, the people that were bringing the cars in, and it became like a game of like keeping ahead. And eventually, the House of Cards came down. That was a very dramatic fall from grace, but. Yeah, I've been out of the car business now. Well, I still have my dealer's license up, but as far as the day-to-day and that being relying on my income, 10 years now. It's been 10 years. After 10 years in the car business.
You're still in the car business.
Well, yeah. I mean, not like that.
Yeah, but you're not like open to the public car dealer.
Right.
So does Kansas not require you to have a public front, or
I do. Everything's licensed now to the Wizard Shop in Newton.
Okay,
I have the big sign. I have business hours. I have an office. There's the receptionist guy that takes the calls and things. It's frustrating because if I sell more than 5 cars a year, I'm supposed to have a dealer's license. But I'm not big enough to have like a full-time employee sitting there like babysitting the lot. So the few times that the state has shown up to like inspect me or whatever, I'm not there. But they're looking to make sure I have buyer's guides and windows on inventory. They're like, we don't see any buyer's guides out on the cars. So like, what? I don't have any inventory.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you don't have any inventory? I don't have anything advertised for sale right now. I just sell things at auction every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, well, it doesn't compute for them. I have to sort of explain like how I operate.
The bureaucracy has not caught up with modern car sales. Like they don't understand. Like we do the vast majority of our sales online. Most of the people never even see the cars in person before it goes to them. Like they buy it, do all the paperwork remotely, and then the car gets shipped to them. And the first time they see it is when it's unloading on the trailer.
So is your YouTube channel kind of based on buying and selling those, or your own kind of personal collection?
No, well, now we feature a lot of the cars in our dealership. It started with just my personal Ferrari. I've only been doing the car dealership thing for about 3 years, 3 or 4 now, and that was never the goal of the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is, I want to show the myths and how to work on Ferraris and whatever, because I bought one. And when I bought my Ferrari, this was 8, 9 years ago now, maybe even 10, and there was not the wealth of information on the internet, especially on YouTube, as there is today. So when I bought it, finding out how to work on it or how to do anything to it was like, this doesn't, like, how?
There's
how
this nudie Ferrari chat forums where they roast you alive for not knowing the answer to your own question. But that was about it, right?
That was about it. Ferrari chat was pretty much your only thing, and it was like, my problem with that was the loudest voice doesn't necessarily have the right advice.
Right.
And the loudest voice on Ferrari chat is frequently not the right advice. So I had a major problem with that, and so I thought, well, I'm going to take my own experience and just show it, show everything, right?
Which is great, and you can really feel that like authenticness that
Right.
comes through in your channel. You're not trying to scam anyone. You're just very real in your delivery.
Right. Well, and that's because it never was meant to be anything other than just helping people or whatever, and it just accidentally became what it is now. As I'm a software nerd. I don't know anything about car sales or any of this stuff.
Well, you do now. Okay, I have one last question. You need to answer this question. Okay. What is the buy and hold Ferrari at this point in time?
Are you shopping?
Perhaps.
Wow.
I mean, in different price points, right? Because
what do you think is the best, like you have this feeling, this gut feeling?
Yeah, get an F40.
Well, get an F40. I'd say the real easy answer is like F40s are only going up, and
it's only $2 million. It's pocket change for you.
Well, honestly, right now I feel like, and it may be a bit late, the SP3 is going to kick the crap out of everything. Because
he's making a face. Why do you make that face? You're not on that boat.
But to the Ferrari people, I mean, so a friend of mine bought one new, and he paid around $3 million, I think, for it. And people have already begged him to sell it for $7 million.
So what is it about them that are so like innovative and exciting?
I mean, it's a continuation of the LaFerrari, but without the hybrid system and arguably a better looking body. So like it's kind of. It could be one of the last great naturally aspirated V12 Ferraris.
Right.
But I mean, that's like in the like la la land of like you have so much money it doesn't matter.
Right.
For like us, kind of more
reasonable,
normal. Yeah. I mean.
Say Testarossa.
Right.
Say 599.
So I don't think I think the 599s will appreciate, but I don't think they're ever going to be like the home run.
Sure.
I think the 458s are going to be one of the solid cars because it's the last naturally aspirated V8. Everyone just kind of loves it. And better yet, the Speciale. If you can get a 458 Speciale, you'll never lose money on that. Like the 48 Pistas might be really good because they're getting some love and people think
they think all the gated stuff, the boat's already been missed.
No, I think the gated stuff you could still do pretty well, but they went up so much so fast that now it's got to catch up. So I think if you buy a gated car, you'll do fine. You're never gonna lose money, but it's not gonna get this huge, like 355s. What 5-6 years ago you could buy for 50 grand, 60 grand for like. Granted, they were kind of like going back to what we were saying earlier. They were the ones that didn't get all the service.
Right.
But like all of a sudden, those same cars are 150 grand in a couple of years. I mean, they doubled, tripled in price. Like, are they gonna double again? Probably not. I don't think so.
Well, I got to say, Dan, your channel is therapeutic for me because it's like if I was still in the car business dealing with the day-to-day crap, like, and I watched his videos and the stuff that goes wrong and all the drama with that, I'm like, okay, now I remember what it's like. And I just take a deep breath, like, okay, I can go make a YouTube video.
And then you walk away, like, thank God I don't have to do that anymore, right?
No, I got to pay taxes and things. Is there anything in mind you want to buy?
I mean, yes, there is.
I need to sell some Hoopies.
All right.
And pay some bills.
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's time for the hard sell.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
What can I do to get you in that car today?
I need that iPad.
Oh, right. Oh, shit. Forget it.